Hello, everybody. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. We have an update on the Clayton Echard paternity scandal. A tweet from Clayton's accuser, Jane Doe's attorney, says, "I'm actually in the process of trying to set up a meeting to discuss settlement." What the hell is going on? Is there going to be a settlement offer from Jane Doe's side of things? Will Clayton entertain a settlement? My opinions on that are unclear. I don't think Clayton is going to take anything less than an absurd amount of money. Like I always said when I was being sued by her for harassment, I said, I'm not going to settle. Why would I settle? I'm the one being sued. I'm just sharing the truth here. And of course I said, well, I mean, everything's got a price. $10 million might shut me up, but really nothing short of that because it's not about the money, right? Well, I feel Clayton might be in the same position where I don't really think it's about the money here. Now, he's arguing for the legal costs, of course, but he's not trying to be bought and have the story, go behind a non-disclosure agreement and all sorts of things. So very interesting. I'll show you the full response from the lawyer in a second, but I do want to share with you, if you did not catch the content from over the weekend. So what went down? Oh boy, this is pretty wild. And again, I'm going to share with you a few rewind clips from this episode of the live stream Saturday night. We, of course, received the photographic evidence from Mike Maricini that his accuser, the same as Clayton's, Jane Doe, said that she had ovarian cancer. And he had the receipts to say that she had medical proof from her doctors that she had 100% real ovarian cancer. Now, of course, we disproved that with a pathologist. It can't be true, of course. She said in those documents that she lost her she had her ovary removed, and then they were still there. So all this conflicting information. Well, she releases an affidavit on Friday, I believe, that says, I believe this is under oath, I never had ovarian cancer. I've never seen those documents. Didn't come from me. Nothing to see here. So Mike goes, well, they're on my laptop. And we thought, well, if they're on his laptop, all we need to do is get them authenticated. So people reached out to, experts in the field of tech and forensics, and those experts that are able to testify in court and write up an expert paper. Somebody who I believe served in the federal government. I'm not saying he was CIA, but it seems like this guy was like really, really high up there. He's an expert. You don't just throw those terms around lightly now, do we? So, of course, it was going to cost around $3,000 to hire this expert. So by Saturday evening, we said, you know what? We need to go do a fundraiser. We scheduled a fundraiser for 8 p.m. Saturday evening. By the time we actually went live on the fundraiser, we had already raised $2,700. By the time the fundraiser was over, it was at $5,660. All extra money raised for Mike's forensic fund will go right to Mike. So if there's anyone who wants to put some bread in his tip jar, go to givesendgo.com/allthebest. And that's the money raised for Mike. And of course, we went live for a few hours and talked about a lot of things. And I'll share a little bit more of that with you guys in a second. But here is the tweet, I guess, that Jane Doe's lawyer responded to. They said, "Hi, David. Hope you had a nice weekend. I was just wondering if the possibility of a settlement conference with stipulations either way sealing with an uncontested public statement, for example, has been discussed in any way formed by either party, if it's even possible." His response was, "I'm actually in the process of trying to set up a meeting to discuss settlement. The court ordered us to meet face to face, so I just need to clear one scheduling issue and then I'll extend the offer to meet tomorrow. Going to be hard to find common ground, unfortunately." So what would a settlement look like? I don't know what type of concessions she would make there. I don't believe a settlement would happen on Clayton's end unless, as he wants her to, admit fully she was never pregnant. We don't think that's going to happen at this point. I don't think even for, $100,000 or $200,000, I don't think even for $500,000 he's taking that type of settlement because he wants the story out there. As when he initially said, hey, fine, go public, whatever, do what you need to do, go public, fine. I know it's ridiculous. That's his way of saying the truth will rise to the surface. And the truth has risen to the surface. And if you are counsel for Jane Doe, even though they've been very boldly claiming they've got their case sealed and sharing photos of her being pregnant, first of all, he doesn't even realize there's a October ultrasound that has been floated around. And by floated around, I mean sent to me by Jane Doe. Do we need to get that authenticated too? I'm sure we could throw it into the old Groupon bundle there with the experts. Well, you know what? Let's get Clayton here. Take my whole laptop. Let's go see it. You want my cell phones? I'll give you all the passwords if you want to authenticate this. I received an email from Jane Doe around October 12th, 13th, 14th, one of those dates, that said, hey, I'm 21 weeks pregnant. Now, we've come to the conclusion, based on several pieces of evidence, that was actually her sister's ultrasound from earlier in the year. Her sister delivered a baby boy of June of 2023. Point being is her lawyer's pretending like that ultrasound doesn't exist. It's in the evidence. It exists. It's not hers, okay? But either way, it'll be very interesting to see if tunes are changed. We'll have to see how it all plays out. Another shocking and scary thing that happened, thanks to Seeking Justice for Clayton Echard, the Justice for Clayton Twitter page, posted that the Umbrella Guy's stream got taken down, which is very sketchy. YouTube streams don't just get taken down, and I don't know what the heck went down, but apparently his live stream was taken down at the same time a Facebook troll was blasting on their public channel that no one's a part of my cell phone number. Again, I could give you my cell phone number here. I'm not going to make it that easy for you, but I'm very easy to contact. It's out there in court documents. It's out there on my website. But so for them to think that it was going to be some big burn to publicly share my cell phone number, some have claimed that's one of Jane Doe's alt accounts. I truthfully don't know. Truthfully, don't care. But either way, very sketchy stuff going on out there while this is all going down. So who knows what sort of things are going on below the surface. But I will say this. I want to thank everyone from the bottom of my heart for your donations to the Mike Maricini Justice for Mike's Forensic Fund. This money goes directly to Mike. I don't touch a penny of it. Straight to him. And, of course, we'll pay for that very expensive yet professional expert forensic fund, which I don't know exactly what they're going to find, but I'm under the impression that they have confirmed what we already knew, which is the text messages that shared faulty, fraudulent medical documents came from Jane Doe and sent to Mike Maricini in 2016, maybe 2017. So we'll have more on that story as it comes. Wild stuff. What else is in those messages? Who the hell knows? Either way, on the stream Saturday night, we interviewed who's become a good pal of our program here, Lauren Needy. She's a forensic, a psych evaluator. And so she meets people, I guess, in maybe in psych hospitals, and determines whether or not they've got psych issues, and if in things of the same. Well, she also dated somebody who faked brain cancer, I believe, and she posted a video on her YouTube channel. It's very fascinating. If you didn't catch the 3-hour live stream, I wanted to replay that entire conversation for you here. So without further ado, enjoy this replay. I've got my hands full today. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. It's the big one, folks. So send your prayers my way. They will be received in kind. Thank you guys all so much for all of your support. And here's that clip of my chat Saturday night. You can go watch the full 3-hour live stream, 2.5 hour, however long it is, or check this out right here. We'll be back with more content after this. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Lauren. Now, is it Nighty? Am I pronouncing it right?
Yeah, am I in the thing now?
You are in the thing now, Lauren.
Oh, guys, I'm behind the curtain. It's weird back here.
You look great. It's good to see you. By the way, I just found out you were a college swimmer?
I was. Yeah, it's been a while now. I graduated in 2015, so.
Oh, you're so young. Way to rub it in. I graduated in 2015. No, that was yes. I have underwear I haven't washed since then. So what? Tell us what your expertise is, because you've been watching this for a long time here, and I want to hear what you have to say about this faking cancer bit.
I've been working as a psychiatric evaluator, so I'm not an MD. I'm not a psychiatrist, psychologist, anything like that. I grew up in a family that was kind of based in psych. So my dad is a forensic psychologist. My mom's a psychotherapist. My sister's a therapist. So I've also got involved in psych. And so what I do is when like patients come into the emergency room, they're brought in by the police or under like involuntary hold, placed by a therapist, something like that. I will go and do their initial evaluation and then speak to the emergency room doctors about whether or not they actually need to be admitted. So a lot of times that involves determining like who is actually experiencing the kind of symptoms they're endorsing and who is kind of like has a motive that they are thinking they can achieve by saying that they're experiencing these things like, oh, I want to kill myself. Okay, but can I say that on YouTube?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Oh, I want to hurt myself.
We already raised all the money. You can say anything.
Okay, sweet.
That's right. It's fine if we get demonetized at this point.
Yeah, so they'll say like, "Oh, I want to harm myself," and I'm like, "Okay, but you're talking about going to work tomorrow. So like, how bad do you really want to, off yourself, So and people don't think to like ask questions like that because it's so confrontational, and if you say it to the wrong person, it's obviously a really bad feeling for them. But I think that you can't just like tiptoe around things like this all the time because when you like are too scared to say sensitive things like that, when you're too scared to say like, hey, this seems kind of manipulative, that's how people get away with abuse and stuff like that, because they can use their kind of symptoms or whatever they're saying they have to get other people to do what they want.
So interesting. So one of the things that I've been attracted to with your point of view is the idea of if someone does have these mental issues versus if they're just diabolical. Mm-hmm. And I mean, clearly you would have to have some form of mental issues to fake cancer if that's what was done here, along with other, forged documents and things like that. But I guess it comes down to like intent and how conscious were they in making those decisions? Is that what you look for?
Yeah. So if somebody is, and I'm, just to cover my bases, I'm not saying this necessarily for sure happened, but if somebody's wearing a fake baby bump, they know what they're doing. They're not like, oh, I think I'm pregnant. They know what they're doing. So, yeah. Or if they're, like sending in falsified medical records, they had to have the wherewithal and the consciousness to like know that they needed to do that because they were doing something wrong.
Are there any sort of questions you would ask that haven't been asked in like these depositions to try to get to see what her mental state is? Because we have Mike, who I think has said in his deposition she was on ketamine, and clearly there's been a struggle already to get herself under control. That's undeniable here. But like, what are there any questions you would ask that haven't been covered here?
Honestly, I don't know that there's anything I could really like. I'm putting myself in like a lawyer's position. I think there's only so much you can really ask or say without like objections and like saying this is beyond the scope or whatever. And I'm not somebody who prescribes medication, obviously, but I do know that when you're taking that many meds and you're also taking, like, say you're taking a ketamine, but you're also taking Ambien, like that can negate the therapeutic effects of the ketamine. So I don't know like much about like her med regimen or anything like that, and I won't comment on like what somebody should or should not take. I will say at some point, if no combination of medication is working, it's because you're not going to therapy. You're not owning your behavior. You're not wanting to change. So
interesting. Yeah, it's so fascinating because I look at this and go, is the mother, there were documents where the mother was changing her dosage levels. And again, a lot of these documents from early on, like the 2016, 2017 times, we don't hear much about her mental health as of late, but clearly she talks about being institutionalized with her brain issues, and there's so many different levels. Like in all of her emails to me, she's trying to prove to me that she's got brain injuries. I'm like, I get it, Jane. I believe you have brain injuries here. It's just like she's at the perfect level of whatever her issues are, where she's still super believable. Like if she was just on the street yelling that the rapture was going to happen tomorrow, no one would believe her. But she's so dang convincing to the naked eye, like this Judge Judy guy, that you go, oh my gosh, she's just like stealing people's compassion and running with it.
I don't think that so in that kind of like very convincing kind of that what comes to mind is like, I don't think she believes what she's necessarily saying. I don't think that she believes she was pregnant. I think she believes she deserves the outcome of saying she was pregnant, what she would get out of that. I think that there can be a certain level of like, and this is speculation, but like narcissism or whatever that can like cause somebody to justify how they're behaving and like never really let go of that. So,
you know, when I was at a job that I was underpaid, I justified stealing petty things. Now, things that weren't worth anything, but every job has shrinkage, right? They've got someone stealing something off the top here, but you do it because you feel justified in doing it. It doesn't make it right. So what you're saying is that it might be that she feels like he's deserving of the pain, of the retribution because of what he did to her. Is it that she's tripped? Do you think it would be that she's personally tripped from being, because a lot of times, like Clayton said, blowjobs, they were good. The next day, he got her in the car and said, we shouldn't do that anymore. He said her face changed. So is it this rejection that's triggering? Then I can do whatever the hell I want in revenge.
Yeah, well, I think that it's more so that she feels like, not so much that she deserves him to hurt, but like she deserves him. That's what she feels like, in my kind of opinion, or where my thought process is going. I can't obviously speak for her, and I feel like I have to reiterate that so much because of the Twitter lawyer or whatever, but I feel like
Twitter lawyer, that's a good way to refer to him.
Well, he he's interesting for sure. But no, I feel like she feels like she deserves all this like stuff out of a relationship and out of a man that she wants, and when they decide like they don't want that because of some of her behavior, she's like, okay, well, you know what, you're wrong, so I'm going to do this to make sure that we kind of stay together.
Yeah, because everything with her, I don't know how closely the ego's tied to narcissism, but everything's award-winning podcast. I'm a grade A horse jump. Everything's just got to have this like degree to it. Like maybe she didn't get the love. She's the younger child. Maybe her sister's more attractive. Her sister's got the happy relationship, married a guy with a great job in New York City, had a baby last year. Although, I mean, the sister had a baby last year, but some of these problems are 7-8 years in the making. Yeah. So it's so hard to unravel. Meg, any thoughts?
She reminds me of, I get the same feeling with her as I do with Meghan Markle, where she thinks everything she does is just the greatest idea ever, even though like time and time again, she has these ideas like this jam thing. It's not really working out for her. Like the podcast, it didn't really work out. She didn't work very hard at it, but she thought she was going to be a superstar just by recording her thoughts, which are quite pedestrian and really been said a million times. But Meghan Markle thinks she's very, very special.
Well, but
and like
at least with Meghan Markle, Meghan Markle's a top actress. She was on one of the
most actress. She was on a TV show hardly anybody ever heard of.
Well,
nobody ever heard of her.
That's the only reason I know who she is, honestly.
I worked on that TV show.
She got married to that guy.
I worked on that TV show.
I know you did.
And you might not think people heard of it, but it was one of the top shows on.
I know it was, but
USA
I mean, she wasn't.
Network.
She wasn't a household name until she.
No. I didn't say household name. I said, okay. So I'm in Screen Actors Guild with about 150,000 actors. She's top 300. So if she were a baseball player, she's in the Hall of Fame. She's a Hall of Fame. She was on a show that had 6 or 7 seasons. But I understand your point. My point is,
I get the same feeling. Like everything with her has to be the most special and unique, including her medical issues. Like everything that she's, that happens to her is completely unique. It doesn't happen to anybody else. And it only happens because she is this unique and special person, much better than everybody else. She's like this superiority thing going on, and it's bizarre. And that's why I think that sense of entitlement comes in. Like, I deserve these things because I'm special, I'm better, I'm this, I'm that. That's why when I hear other psychologists talk about this and they say it's, indicative of low self-esteem, I'm like, I don't think so. I think all of this is on an entitlement kind of level, and it's just my opinion. But it feels like she feels entitled to all of these things, including men that she wants. And when they don't return that, it's on, baby. Lights on like Donkey Kong. Like, watch out.
What's so interesting is she has evolved from the initial reverse image searching. She's learned how to stretch the image. And of course, we stretched it back. Like everything she's done, we've kind of figured out. But what we've learned is she's I don't know about Gillespie, But with Clayton and with Mike, she's tried to get contracts, not dating contracts. With Clayton, it was like a real estate contract. And with Mike Maricini, it was this $250,000 a year radio show, which wasn't real. But it still just goes to show, like, when you say it's someone who feels like they deserve it, it's so much manipulation for her to pull strings that her daddy has. She's taking her dad's clout and using it to hang it over these men's head. That's such like rich privilege. That's stuff that you learn to do when you're 7 years old. Like, she grew up with a dad who in that neighborhood, in that town, was gold. So she probably name dropped him every single day. I'm just guessing. And then this is the fear of having a parent who's like a celebrity, is that you then ride off of their equity, not yours. I mean, they literally moved there to Scottsdale for her. Some people have said it was probably for horse therapy, to try to like fix her of her problems. But the only time we've heard from her father, other than these like pseudo, people don't believe him to be real Facebook posts, was when in the affidavit for Mike in 2016. So I don't know about you, Meg, but I'm dying to see if there's any text messages from family on Mike's computer that show that they knew she had this problem.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting too that he brought a third party to this conversation, who wrote an affidavit, by the way, in his court case that was pretty, I don't know, it convinced me, where he said he witnessed, but the judge wouldn't let it in because it was considered hearsay because they didn't call the witness. I wish they had. He said, the witness says that he heard Mr. Owens and Miss Owens admit that their daughter had been lying and that they covered for her. And that's really bad. I mean, that sets up your kid, I think, forever to fail at honesty, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I've got that right here, I believe. And again, sorry that this is kind of all over the place, but I think this is a declaration of witness in support of respondent Jane Doe v. Maricini. 37-year-old and employed as a real estate analyst. So again, not somebody off the street. A resident of San Fran. I had met Jane Doe several times while she was dating Mike, including a dinner with her family at the House of Prime Rib. I remember being called by, who is this? Michael, to come to Jane's apartment in December of 2016 for a meeting with Jane Doe and her father to discuss Jane's desire to continue the relationship with Mike. Jane had been claiming that she was pregnant and had been threatening life with Mike with not having an abortion if he ceased dating her. Additionally, Jane had been indicating to Mike that she was contemplating suicide at the thought of their relationship ending. So, Lauren, I love the question you brought up when people confront others with this sort of emotional weaponization of self-harm. I mean, how do you ask the questions that can see through this bullshit? Like what do you do if you hear that this is happening?
Yeah, I mean, it, obviously varies person to person, but usually I try to get to the bottom of like, why are you wanting to do this in the context of this relationship? And like, what are you wanting out of this? If the relationship took a turn in the direction you're wanting it, would you want to hurt yourself? Or is like this a means to an end?
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
But
It's
can
pretty
you even
wild.
do people who behave like this, though, even answer honestly? It feels to me like I'm not sure that she's had an honest moment in her life, and that's sad. That's really sad. I mean, I talk to my 9-year-old about that all the time. Like, little kids, have problems telling the truth.
Yeah.
And I had this conversation with my son today. I felt like he had done something that made me feel like, okay, we have to have this conversation again about lying and about misrepresenting things, because this is no way to live. You can't do that just because you think you're going to get into less trouble, or because you think you're going to get something out of it. This is no way to live. And it's almost like, gosh, can you have a aware moment that you're you're definitely doing something here that's dishonest, and just come to the realization. I just don't think she's capable of admitting that she's done something dishonest at this point.
I would agree with that for sure. And that's not the case with everybody. A lot of times, like with me, when I'm seeing people who kind of like threaten themselves or stuff like that, it's like they're a first time. They've never been brought into the hospital for any sort of psych reason. They're like, yeah, I got upset with my girlfriend. I like wanted her to stop yelling at me, or I like wanted her to like see me differently or something like that. So I said I was gonna, kill myself or whatever. And like they'll be honest about that. Some people are capable of that, and that's because those people, like, while they are, obviously experiencing some sort of like emotional dysregulation or something like that, they're like aware of it. Um, and I think that while she's like competent in what she's doing, knowing what she's doing is wrong, and she's kind of calculated, I don't think that she really believes that it's like morally wrong. I think that she believes she's in the right, and that's why she's never going to admit to what she's doing.
So Liz Neptune had told us that a lot of people that make up pregnancies also make up cancers. In your video today, which by the way, we really got to get your subscribers up because you're doing fantastic work. No, I mean, I really mean it. You're doing great stuff over there. But in your video today, you discussed, and again, if you don't want to talk about it, we can just direct people to your video, but you discussed actually dating somebody that had faked a cancer. Is that something you're comfortable talking about?
Sure.
The headspace there?
Yeah, I was 18, so it's been a long time. So yeah.
So what sort of, I mean, at what point did you start to doubt them? Because that seems to be the hardest part, right? Is like, you never want to doubt people about cancer or pregnancy or personal things like that.
Mm-hmm. So this was somebody that I had known for a while. We were teammates, and she was like my best friend. I was not even like out of the closet or anything like that, which made this especially hard, especially because 2010, 2011, much different time than we're in right now. So all of those things kind of came into play in like keeping me quiet and keeping me from really asking the kind of questions I should have asked. But she, I guess, saw me kind of getting close to other people, and she wanted my attention, and she wanted more than I was willing to give her. So she, told me she had brain cancer. I went to a school with a lot of international students who boarded at the school. So she was there without her parents. Like, I didn't ever get to really talk to her family except for once. And so I didn't really have anyone to go to and be like, is this real? Unless I went to like our coach or something. And I felt like that would be a betrayal. So it's almost like they're confiding something in you, and you're like, this doesn't make sense, but this person says they love me, so they wouldn't really make that up. Yeah, that kind of thing. Like, but she would go to great lengths. Like, she faked convulsions and stuff like that, and like said she was going to doctor's appointments. And like, of course, I believed her because she was saying like her like dorm leaders were taking her to the doctor and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, well, obviously somebody knows about this. So she would like make up that other people were involved too. And then, of course, like I said, a lot of foreign exchange students were at my school. She was Austrian, and I couldn't really speak to her family too much because they only spoke German. So that added another component to it. There was just like so much at play there. It's hard to like remember even everything that happened because it has been over 10 years. So
I know. And sometimes when you look back at these things, we had a friend that was a compulsive liar and a kleptomaniac, and he would steal. And I grew up so innocently. God bless my mom for raising me so innocently. I couldn't fathom people lying about things of such substance. It's really, I mean, I was robbed in Europe once, and I couldn't imagine that happened. I just couldn't. It didn't. And then in hindsight, I'm like, well, that was several hundred euros I lost, but it was such a lesson I learned. Just that you can operate life with like optimism, but know that intuition when something doesn't smell right. Know if if something doesn't feel right, that like you're allowed to question that. But again, what you experienced, most people don't go through. Most people don't go through an experience where someone close to them fakes cancer. But some people, a lot of people in the comment sections have talked about the Munchausen syndrome by proxy, which of course was kind of brought into the mainstream with Gypsy Rose. But do you think something like that could be at play with the level of medication that Jane Doe's mom might have had her on?
I really don't know enough about the mom to say. I mean, yeah, at this stage, like I only know as much as I've seen in your like videos and stuff. So like I couldn't really say for sure. It's a little bit suspicious. Like it's weird. Like why would your mom be adjusting your doses and stuff like that? But I don't know enough about their dynamic to kind of speak to that really.
It's almost like a well, here's what we do know. We do know that Jane Doe lives on the property with her parents. People that are close to them, and I'm talking about people that have worked side by side. I've got sources that have been in the house. Like they're everywhere. So many people have talked. They say, these people tell me that her dad wanted to stay in San Francisco, but they couldn't go get a 3-floor home because of his Parkinson's, and he would fall down. So they needed a flat place, and it was overridden that they were going to go to Scottsdale so that they could have horses for her. So whether or not they packed up their life and moved for their daughter because she was the one who commanded all, like you couldn't say no to, or are they really trying to protect her in a way that I don't think is right by getting her certain therapy? And at this point, are they just trying to play cleanup to protect their family name? Very clear to me that the name's important. Jane Doe would tell me nonstop, my mom won a Peabody for being a journalist. My dad's in the radio DJ Hall of Fame. Like she cares so much about this pedigree that I wonder if they've tried to protect her. And I'm just pleading with somebody close to her to stop her from her madness.
Yeah, it's curious for sure. And I'm definitely not saying it's not possible, what you brought up about the, kind of by proxy thing, but it's very curious. And I've had the same kind of like wonders and stuff. And I don't have the connections that you do, so I don't know as much as you know. But it's just kind of bizarre. Like I try to think about it. I'm just like, I can't imagine why anyone would like let their kid like act like that and not do something to put a stop to it.
So when I first found your channel, first of all, I love your voice. You have such a calming voice, and you have great expertise. Have you considered doing a little bit more? Like you're sharing. It seems to me like you're sharing your input because you're saying things that people haven't really shared from your angle, and that's the best time to start a channel. Have you considered doing more about with regard to your expertise here?
Yeah, well, the reason I first started kind of talking about this was not only because like I felt like I needed to speak up about like people saying like she's too mentally ill, like she's not, basically insinuating she's not responsible for what she's doing, but also I saw people were criticizing you guys for like going over her like past and stuff like that, and kind of saying like that's gross behavior or something. I'm like, that's pretty dramatic. Like if nobody speaks up, if nobody looks into this stuff, like what are other people supposed to just like be victims to this behavior forever? So that's kind of what got me into talking about it. So I decided to, preach to my 13 bot followers, and here we are. But
no, but it goes so far because we can share the story, and no one's funnier than Megan when people tell her stay in her own lane. How are you a journalist on YouTube calling these people? And she's like, So I think you guys are a great team.
Yeah, no, I'm back in school now. Actually, I kind of fell into psych because I think I told you before. I kind of grew up with it. But I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I had such a focus on swimming through college. I was just like, I don't know what I want to do. So I kind of just picked a topic. Like I went to grad school for criminology, actually, not psych.
Interesting. Yeah, really interesting.
Yeah. And so I ended up working in psych, but all that time I was like, what do I really even want to do? Because I don't see myself in this forever. And then there's this thing called, it's for like my favorite show. It's called Wentworth Con. I don't know if anybody's watched Wentworth, but it's my favorite show. And they had this video editing contest, and I started doing that. And it was like one of the first ever videos I made. I was like, this is such a rush. Like this is the first time I have felt this happy and like this excited about something since I was swimming. And so I'm back in school now for like digital media design. It's going to take me a while to finish just because I'm only doing like part-time. But I do hope that someday I can transition more into something like this. I'm just like not really used to it yet. I'm streaming a little bit on Twitch, but I haven't in a minute because I was traveling so much. But I still have a lot to learn. So
hey, you sound like you're doing great stuff here. And what's the common what do you think is the common thread in your family that makes you guys all have these sort of evidence-based jobs? It seems like here, right? You guys all kind of have like like a hard evidence kind of look at things?
I don't know. For me, it was the benefits. So I don't know. Yeah,
That's
I
always
just
a good reason.
I need insurance, so that's how I ended up, where I ended up. So
Boy.
That's why a lot of people get into the line of work that they're in.
yeah. I felt like I had to choose something. I was like, okay, I'm too old to like keep doing these like little part-time jobs as much as I love them. Like I was reporting for a while for a website called Swim, but obviously like there's not a lot of money in swimming, so I wasn't making too much money, and I didn't have any health insurance, so I kind of fell into psych, and then now I'm kind of trying to change lanes a little bit.
Well, now we're swimming in motions here with all of the different content. Meg, any questions for Lauren before we let her go?
I do have a question, and I hope I didn't miss it while I was away taking a dramatic phone call from prom. Anyway, I will. The question I have is, do you see a difference, Lauren, in the way that people react to men who have these difficulties and who do these types of things, and women who do these types of things? Because I feel that we've been battling hard against even that judge, for instance, the boomer judge, said he said at one point during the hearing, I don't believe a woman would post that picture. No woman would post that picture because it's so unflattering. And I'm like, oh, sir, let me tell you, this is you're not getting it. You don't understand. And I feel like we've been battling that stereotype that women don't behave this way. So you have to believe that she's telling the truth and the man is not. And I'm just wondering if you see similar types of people, male and female, doing these sorts of things, and are they treated differently either by the system or by people around them?
Mm-hmm. No, I believe so. I believe there's an automatic kind of perception that the man is, in the wrong, or that he has, because you want to believe victims when they speak up, and most victims are women. So I feel like when a man is kind of like in a situation like Clayton's in, he's automatically kind of chastised in a way. With him, it was especially bad because I feel like people already had preconceived notions about him. Like, I feel like people already thought, like, I don't like him, I don't want to like him, so obviously I'm going to believe, what this woman is saying. I do think that there is a discrepancy there. It's unfortunate, but I can tell you, like, I'm a woman and I have been in this situation with a woman. So, women can be abusers too. And it's not fair, I guess, to automatically assume that the man is in the wrong. But, like, it sucks because you want to believe the victims, but then you don't automatically want to not believe the person who's being accused. So it's kind of strange to be in, like, a little bit of a nuanced position there. And then, like, if you kind of try to say that or, like, debate that, people can get pretty angry, and then they can kind of dogpile on you.
And I always want to say, wait a minute, we're trying to identify the victimizer, and sometimes a victimizer can pretend to be a victim. That's part of the victimization of the other person, is that game, that pretending that the abuser is actually the victim. And actually, women, I think, are much better at that than men are. Men, they can abuse for sure, and they do often. Yeah. But women have this, like, I don't know, emotional pull over men and over the system, where they can take advantage very easily, and it's a lot of power to have to use for evil. And man, I don't know. I just hate this part.
Those men, the last two, I don't know how big Mike Maricini is, but Greg Gillespie and Clayton Echard are professional athlete size men. They are 6'5", 6'6", 250. They made me look like, so Jane being a small person.
Her lawyer look like a child. Like when Clayton was standing next to her lawyer in that video, I was laughing out loud. He made Josh look like a child. He's so big, towering over him.
I always say this, right? The most dangerous man in a woman's life is usually someone she knows, because most physical violence is a man onto a woman. But physical violence doesn't last always nearly as long as the other types of violence. Not to say one's right or wrong. Of course, if Clayton laid his hands on her, that would be a no-go. But what we've seen here is a cultural shift where people go, okay, we want to believe victims. We do. But we need to hold up to some level of evidence on one side and get both sides of the story before we, and again, with a 24-hour news cycle, we're just ready to go. Time and again, audiences seem to be on the wrong side of a story. And with Clayton's case, it was not a day before people, put their pitchforks down because, they realized the story's a little too sensational. This is a very Jussie Smollett level, like, oh, there's a lot going on here. So I think in the end, the audience got it right quickly. By means they like understood to sniff out the BS. But if Clayton wasn't a public figure with 100,000 people on Reddit looking at him, look at Mike. 7-8 years later, the guy's got to go, put the forensic address in, and go drive his little laptop somewhere where you guys raised $3,000 just to prove 8 years later that the guy wasn't lying. None of which would have happened if Clayton wasn't on a reality TV show. It is a shame that this is how it had to kind of go down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Lauren, I don't want to keep you, but any other last things to say? It looks like we've possibly have doubled your YouTube following, which is a start. I don't know.
That's cool.
So exciting.
I don't know where you were at, but you're at 319 now. So hopefully
I literally had like 3 Fortnite videos before I started talking about this. So I don't know, and I don't really check it that much. But
YouTube can change like that, and you could literally be making money. Hey, YouTube pays for my health insurance, so you never know. But you're doing all the right things with these keywords. Bachelor Clayton. You got it all going on. Look at that, almost 10,000 views. Keep sharing your thoughts because I think you're really interesting to listen to.
I agree. I appreciate your perspective a whole lot, Lauren.
Thanks. No, that means a lot. Hopefully I will see you guys in Scottsdale. So
all right.
Oh, will you? Oh, wonderful.
Well, I haven't booked a flight yet because
Me either.
what if one of these like Hail Mary filings actually gets like approved or something and then push the date back?
Well, here's the keyword:
3 weeks
refundable flights. I'm about to buy mine, and I'm definitely going to get one that I can change. So changeable flight. Yeah. But I hope to see you there.
Yeah, we'll see you there. We'll do margaritas and we'll talk to you then. All right, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, no problem. I'll be listening while I finish my work stuff over here.
Sweet, and text us or you have the link, so jump back in if there's anything glaring that we're missing over here.
All right, how do I leave?
I got you. Take care.